We are in part 4 of a series called All Things New. We're kicking this year off with this idea, it's a new year. We want everything to be new, not just the calendar, not just the calendar dates flipping over, but we want ourselves to be new. We want to be new in everything that we do. And so we started where it really should begin, in a spiritual newness, starting deep down, and we become new inside first. And we talked about plans and pursuits and what our goals are for the year. And last week we started a two-parter within this series about being new together, the relational element of becoming new in our relationships and our friendships. And we talked about the ugly side of friendships last week, how some of those friends need to not be your friends. We talked about unfriending those that are in our life, some of those people that don't need to be there. Someone sent me this meme, and I couldn't show it to you because I needed to edit out some of the words of it, but essentially it said, thanks for going out of your way to unfriend me on Facebook. Your passive-aggressive way of ending our friendship really took some guts. And I thought, man, that's a great description. Last week we talked about this idea of cutting loose some of those people that are in our life and letting them go. Has anybody ever been unfriended, either on social media or in real life? Like you're the raw end of the deal. You got let go. That's the worst experience, isn't it? Like, what have I done? What can I do to get this back? To regain our friendship. And at that point, it's probably done. That's okay. That's healthy. Last week we talked about sometimes it's necessary to end those relationships in the right way. One way to guarantee that we will not chart a new course in our life is by surrounding ourselves with the wrong people. But there's a flip side to that coin. Also, one way to guarantee a new course, growth, new goals in our life is to gather the right people around you. The writer of the Proverbs said it this way, Proverbs 13:20, he said, walk with the wise and become wise. But the companion of fools suffers harm. I love just the wording of that. When you walk with the wise, you become wise. Like you're becoming, your transformation happens with the people that are around you. You're becoming, you're changing, your transformation happens with the people you're in company with. And likewise, the companion or the friend of fools will suffer the same harm that they are suffering. It's essentially hang out with idiots, you'll be treated like an idiot. You're guilty by association. And so last week we learned this truth. If you show me your friends, I'll show you your future. We applied this truth about the people that need to be removed from our friends list because they may not be helping us get to the right end, to the right goal, to the right future. Modern conveniences, the rise in social media, this increased mobility keeps us isolated and creates relational poverty in our life. But there is hope. And the hope is not in an app. It's not in a service you can buy. It's not in a thing that you can add to your life. The hope of this problem is probably sitting right in front of you or next to you on either side, maybe behind you, maybe on the other side of the room. The hope is a person. It's not a thing. If show me your friends and I'll show you your future is true, and here's a big idea that I want you to know today. Most of us are only one friend away from changing the course of our destiny. Most of us are just one friend away from changing the course of our destiny. This week as I was reading, I stumbled on a perfect example of this in the life of Paul the Apostle, the guy who wrote most of our New Testament. Have you ever wondered how Paul went from this vicious terrorist killing people in the streets to being one of the greatest Christians in history? How did he go from that guy to being one that we look to and emulate and say, we all want to be this guy? How did he go from a murderer to the supreme contributor of the theology that will build the faith? Because he was only one friend away from changing the course of his destiny. When we're considering adding people to our fold, we talked about removing them. When we talk about adding people into our life as friends, Ananias shows us the right friends we need to have. Number one, Ananias shows us we all need a friend who loves us more than themselves. We need a friend who loves us more than themselves. Ananias throws his hand up to God in a slight disagreement to God's plan. It says, I don't think you know, this guy Saul, he's not really on our team. Like, he wants to hurt me. We're probably not going to get along. Like, we're not going to be pals. This isn't really going to work out. Isn't it crazy how some of your best friends in life are people that you didn't think would work out as friends when you first met them, Like they're maybe chatty Cathy and you're kind of an introvert person and you're like, would this guy just shut up? He just can't stop talking, Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe you're an extrovert, and you're talking to this guy and he's just introverted and doesn't want to respond. Yeah, it's good. It's good. You're like, man, you're listening to me. You're not giving me anything back, Or maybe that person's like a Steelers fan, and you're like, this ain't going to work out. I can just tell right now this ain't going to go anywhere. But it's crazy how these people that are opposite from us become vital to our life, Variety is the spice of life. It's this yin and yang. It's this opposites attract. These people that are so different from us coming together and becoming so important to us. My wife, as an example, when we first met, we were way different. You couldn't get more opposite than her and I were. I was this skater punk kid, very artsy and weird, and she was this hip hop girl. I listened to all these stoner bands, like 311 and all this stuff, and just weird things. And she was she could quote Biggie Smalls, probably today. I mean, she could drop it. I remember us driving around together, and it was the greatest battle trying to find something on the radio to listen to. Like we settled on oldies. We're like, okay, whatever. We'll just listen to stuff from the 70s or 60s or something we can't agree on it. We were so opposite. I mean, it was crazy. But now I look back and I understand she's everything that I'm not. She compliments me in every single way. I didn't realize how much of a half of a person I was until I met her. And I needed her other half. I needed her in my life just to stand, just to be. We complement each other in every way. When I'm quiet, she speaks. And when she's quiet, I speak. And when there needs to be someone to listen, one of us will listen. There needs to be someone to inject something into the conversation. That person will be there. She balances me out. She's everything that I am not. That variety being the spice of our life, our opposites are attracted. To have this type of relationship with someone, it takes a bit of dying to yourself. To have this type of opposite attract relationship, it takes a bit of dying to yourself. Letting go of those moments where you wanted it your way. Forgiving those times when you would have done it differently. Ananias goes back to God and says, this probably isn't going to work out. Me and Saul aren't going to be good friends. We are different in every way. He probably wants to kill me, and I probably want to kill him. We're not going to be there. He probably hates me. But Ananias risked himself for Saul's good, and that's what real friends do. They lay themselves on the line for their friends. They will risk their comfort to tell you the truth. They will risk their preference for your best. They will risk their contentment to help you succeed. And we're talking about small groups a lot today. And here's the funny thing about small groups. We think we're going to want a group where everybody is just like us in that group. But guess what? That doesn't exist. You're probably not going to like everybody in your group. That's a guarantee. You may not like anybody in your group. Let me just back that up. And that's okay. You don't have to like everyone that's there. There's probably plenty of things that you're going to disagree with. But let me get hard just for a second. Give me just a little bit of grace. Get over yourself. They need you and you need them. So it's kind of like stepping back and taking a deep breath. Okay, let's do this. And you enter into probably the best relationship with people that you'll ever have in your entire life. It takes a little bit of dying to self, like Ananias had to do to enter into this relationship with Saul. Ananias shows us that we need those friends that will love us more than themselves. Another type of relationship that he shows us, we see in verse 17. Ananias went to the house, he entered in, placing his hand on Saul. He said, "Brother Saul, the Lord Jesus, who appeared to you on the road where you were coming, has sent me." Can you imagine that just for a second? Saul just had his world rocked, falls off his horse, he's blind, goes to a house, he's praying. In a vision, he sees a guy named Ananias come and lay his hands on him, and then he hears a knock at the door. "Hey, it's Ananias. Anybody there?" Can you imagine just mind-blown moment? He comes in, "Hey, I'm Ananias. You saw Jesus on the road. He told you I was coming. I'm here. Let me lay my hands on you." This is ridiculous. Can you imagine this experience Saul's got to be having it? Ananias shows us in this moment, he shows us the second type of friend that each of us need. Secondly, we need a friend who listens to God for you. All of us need a friend who listens to God on our behalf. Don't you find it odd that God answers Saul's prayers through another person? He just miraculously showed himself on the road, beamed a bright light down and knocked this guy off his horse. His friends all heard this thundering voice from the sky. They couldn't see him. It was amazing. Now, just like days later, Saul's praying, but God won't answer his prayer. Isn't that crazy? I've experienced that frustration in my life. I pray, God, why aren't you doing this? How come I don't see this work out? And I'm waiting for this voice to come down from the heavens and give me the answer, but it doesn't. Somebody comes walking in my office. Hey, I just had a great idea. You know what we should do? X, Y, Z. And I'm like, would you shut my office door? I don't want to talk to you. I'm praying, asking God to give me the answer right now, and you're bothering me. When all the while the answer to my prayers is probably coming through another person. God designed it this way to where we need him and we need each other. And again, let me get hard on you for just 1 second. Let me kind of come at you just a little bit strongly. Pray all you want, but if you aren't in community, God is probably not answering all your prayers, because he gives you answer to prayers through other people. And if you're not with other people, you're probably not getting all the answers to your prayers. Isn't that the most frustrating part about it? God, no, just tell me. I don't want to hear it through them. I don't want my wife to come in the door and tell me all the things that I should be doing. I know she's right, but I don't want to hear it that way. You tell me directly, you know? I want you to speak directly to me. You voice out your problems, and then you have this guy who comes and says, hey, you know what you probably should do? Hey, you know what I would have done? Hey, if I were in your shoes, you know what I would do? No, I don't know what you do. Why don't you go ahead and tell me? You know, like sarcasm warning, go ahead and tell me your opinion, you know? But that's what happens. The answers to our prayers come through these relationships, through people that we would have never contacted if it wasn't for God. But he designed it this way. He speaks through people around us. Either way, the fact is we need a friend who will listen to God on our behalf. Ananias didn't have to show up. Ananias didn't have to go that way. He could have just went on his way. He didn't need to deal with all Saul's drama, but he did, and we are all better for it. I'm thankful for friends who pray for me, who listen to God on my behalf, who think of me in their prayer times. My life is better for it. I'm thankful for it. It may be difficult at times, but I am better in the long run. So reading on, Ananias shows up. He says, man, the same Jesus you saw, he's the one who sent me. And he said, he sent me so that you may see again, to be filled with the Holy Spirit. Immediately, something like scales fall from Saul's eyes, and he could see again. He got up, was baptized. Verse 19, after taking some food, he regains his strength. Thirdly, we find that the third type of friend that each of us need. We all need a friend with healing in their hands. A friend with healing in their hands. I don't want you to miss this truth. Saul's healing didn't come through praying. Saul's healing didn't come through fasting. Remember, he's not eating during this time. He's fasting and trying to dedicate himself to God. His healing didn't come through any of those things. His healing came through the hands of a friend, through a person that he probably wouldn't have been connected to just days earlier. God healed Saul through the hands of another person. You and I cannot do this life alone. You can't make it by yourself. We are walking life blind without the right friend. Saul regained his strength and sight by the hands of a friend that he didn't know he needed. He regained his strength and ability to see clearly at the hands of a friend he probably would have attempted to kill just days earlier. To gain a friend with healing in their hands and healing in their words, it's going to take a tremendous amount of humility on our part to admit when we are weak, to admit when we are in need, to admit we don't have it all together. But we need these people in our life. They need to be added to our life. It's not just about adding people, it's about adding the right people. Here's a word of caution, and we'll wrap this up. I know we're long on time today. I want to read on a bit and just challenge you in this last way. It says, Saul spent several days with the disciples in Damascus, and at once he began to preach in the synagogues and tell everybody that Jesus is the Son of God. All those who heard him were astonished and asked, isn't this the man who raised havoc in Jerusalem among those who call on this name? Isn't he the one who's killing people? And hasn't he come here to take them as prisoners to the chief priest? Yet Saul grew more and more powerful and baffled the Jews living in Damascus by proving that Jesus is the Messiah. Verse 23. After many days had gone by, there was a conspiracy among the Jews to kill him. But Saul learned of their plan. Day and night they kept close watch on the city gates in order to kill him. Verse 25, check this out. But his followers took him by night and lowered him in a basket through an opening in the wall. Saul's changing teams. Takes his jersey off, rips up his contract from the chief priest. I'm done with this. I'm going over to the side of the Christians, the followers of the way. They're right. Jesus is Lord. He came and showed himself to me directly. Personally, I saw it. I'm not going back. And he makes enemies this way, enough so that they want to kill him. And they're at the gates waiting for Saul to come by. Day and night, they're watching and waiting for him to leave the city. Hears of this threat, and his friends step in and do what real friends do. They protect him. They keep him from this happening. They stand in the way. His friends hold the ropes that lower him to safety. Real community in your life they become rope holders for you, where they lower you down in times of need, where they hold you up in prayer when you need it. It's never the efforts of just one who make a difference, but the hands of many rope holders that protect you from harm, that hold you up in prayer, that foresee the danger ahead of you and do everything in their power to keep you from it. Real community is comprised of rope holders. Not only are we one friend away of changing the course of our future, we are one community away from changing our lives. Saul went on to meet with the apostles. This guy Barnabas goes with him and vouches for him. He says, man, I know you think that he's coming here to kill you, but he's legit. He's the real deal. We've been doing it. We've been walking, talking. He's the real deal. And because of Barnabas, another friend, Paul's accepted into the fold. They send him out to plant churches. He goes on numerous missionary journeys and plants churches all up around this Mediterranean rim. And he begins to write letters to those churches after he left. It's made up of about 2/3 of our New Testament. The theology written in those words is what the modern church is built on. His teachings are what this church, Epic, in this room is built on. Where would we be without Paul? But where would Paul be without Ananias? Where would Paul be without the rope holders? We're one friend away from changing our life. We're one community away from being changed.